In this video, I'm going to break down 5 tactics cards that you may be playing wrong. Hey guys, Rich from Richmond Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well. And first of all, apologies to all the MCP fans out there. It has been a minute since I've put an MCP video together. As you may have seen, I got my Kickstarter through a week or so ago now for the Simon Marvel United game, and I have been just well into that at the moment. So apologies for that, but you're going to start to see more videos coming. And I thought I would start with a video talking about tactics cards and some common mistakes that are made with them, and I've picked out 5 that I want to go through. So let's jump straight in at number 5. So Sinister Traps is a reactive Spider Foes affiliated card. So you're going to need to be playing Spider Foes to be able to play this card. Now, any allied character may play the card during the first power phase, so you've got to spend it during that first power phase. And let's read through the text. It says, choose an objective token. The first time a character ends a movement within range 2 of the objective token, roll 5 dice. The moving character suffers 1 damage for each crit, wild, or hit result in the roll. If the character suffered damage, it is pushed short. The character's opponent resolves the push. So there are a couple of things to break down on this card. The first one is choose an objective token. So this can either be a secure or a extract. So it doesn't have to be just a secure or just an extract. It can be any. So you get to choose where you want to place it. Second of all, the first time a character ends a movement within 2. Now, first of all, what is a character? That is any character. It's not just the Spider Foe's opponent. It can be a Spider Foe themselves. And secondly, ends a movement. Now, a movement is absolutely anything in the game that moves a character. A move action is very, very different, but movement can include a move action, it can include a climb, it can include an advance, but more importantly, it can also include places, pushes and throws. So be aware of this if you're coming up against Spider Foes, or indeed if you're playing as Spider Foes. You yourself, as the Spider Foes player, can be picked up and thrown into the trap, and you're going to trigger those 5 dice and all of the normal things are going to happen. The last thing I also want to point out as well is that if you are coming up against this card and you do decide to move a character up, the damage and the short push is resolved before you get to do anything else. So if you do walk up to an objective token that you need to interact with, you're going to get pushed away before you get a chance to interact. The second card I want to talk about then is Deal with the Devil. Yes, it's your boy Ghost Rider's card. You guys know I absolutely love me some Ghost Rider at the moment, especially since he's had his card changed and especially playing with the Guardians. He's just an absolute threat powerhouse, and I keep hearing people complain that he is far too good, and this is one of the reasons why he is. This card is absolutely amazing. So let's have a quick read through the card. So it's an unaffiliated reactive card. If Ghost Rider is KO'd, he may spend 4 power to play this card before he is removed from the battlefield. Choose another allied character. Ghost Rider removes all special conditions, removes all damage and activated tokens, drops all objective tokens, and is then placed within range 1 of the chosen character. If the chosen character was healthy, flip Ghost Rider's card to the healthy side. Enemy characters within range 2 of Ghost Rider then suffer the Incinerate special condition. The chosen character is then KO'd. Now again, a couple of things I want to break down here, but the first one is that first line of the second part of the card. Choose another allied character. We have seen other tactics cards that talk about non-dazed character. So the assumption, if we've seen non-dazed on another tactics card, is that, well, this can be used with a dazed character. Unfortunately, that is not the case. there are other rules in the game that override this, that explain that a dazed character cannot be interacted with in any sort of way, shape or form. There are a couple of set of exceptions to that when it comes to measuring from, but this has to be an undazed character or a non-dazed character. So they can be healthy, they can be injured, and obviously that will determine whether Ghost Rider comes back as fully healthy or on his injured side. So he removes all special conditions. So that's going to be any of your stuns and poisons and anything else like that. Obviously, there's quite a few that he's immune to anyway. Obviously, he'll remove all of his damage. And then the key one is his activated token. So if Ghost Rider has already activated this round, when he comes back, he's going to come back as a non-activated character, even if the character that you're sacrificing has an activated token on them as well. So one key thing to remember as a Ghost Rider player is you can potentially get 2 activations from him in a single round. You then place within 1, which is obviously straightforward. And then if it was on the healthy side, Ghost Rider's on his healthy. If it's an injured character, Ghost Rider comes back on his injured side. The other thing to remember on this one is that Ghost Rider keeps all of his power. So if he's powered up and he's got 10 power, he's going to spend 4 to play this card. He will come back with his 6 power. And then obviously everyone within range 2 or all enemies within range 2 then suffer the Incinerate special condition as well. One last thing to mention about this card, as it's definitely worthwhile in doing so, and it is in a niche situation, but there's 2 scenarios that you need to be aware of as a Ghost Rider player if you're intending to play this card. First of all is if you're coming up against Black Order and Thanos is on his healthy side, meaning that he's going to score 1 VP for every character that is KO'd, or if you're coming up against an enemy Punisher who has played the card Blood Red and Personal, where once again for every KO he scores a victory point for this round. Because there are 2 characters that are being KO'd from this card, so Ghost Rider is actually KO'd, he's counted as being KO'd, and then the chosen character that you sacrifice is also KO'd, your opponent will be scoring 2 victory points in either of those situations. The next card I want to talk about is the card Dark Past, a fairly new tactics card. It's an unaffiliated reactive card that you can use with Gambit when you're not playing as the Uncanny X-Men. So let's have a quick read of the card and see what it says. So during the power phase, if your squad is not using the Uncanny X-Men affiliation, Gambit may play this card. Each allied character within 3 of Gambit gains stealth superpower until the end of the round. And then it explains what stealth is. So stealth, characters must be within range 3 of this character to target it with attacks. We've seen that on many other characters and such things as well. But the key thing here is that a character doesn't need to remain within range 3 of Gambit. They just need to be within range 3 of Gambit when this card was played. So you can play the card on Gambit. Now obviously you don't need to play this during his activation because it's played during the power phase, and then any character that was within range 3 when the card was played will maintain stealth throughout the entire round, even if they move outside of range 3 of Gambit. Again, just one that's worthwhile noting. Okay, then the second to last card that I want to talk about then is a card very, very close to my heart. For those guys who have been following the channel for a while, you all know that Brotherhood were one of my first loves within this game, and particularly Magneto, and I want to talk about Magnetic Refraction. Now, the reason I've put this card straight after the Dark Past card is this works in almost the exact opposite way. But let's have a quick look through and run through the card. So it's unaffiliated and it's an active card. Magneto may pay 2 power to play this card. Magneto gains cover this round. Allied characters gain cover while within range 3 of Magneto this round. If your squad is using the Brotherhood of Mutants affiliation, return this card to your available Team Tactics cards during the cleanup phase. This card may be played again this game. But what I mean by it being the opposite of is that characters can be outside of range 3 when Magneto plays this card, and then move within range 3 and get benefit from that cover. It's also worth noting that the cover moves wherever Magneto is, so it's a range 3 from Magneto, and if Magneto is dazed, this cover stays up throughout the entire round, so dazing Magneto isn't going to get rid of this cover. The second part of the card is obviously really straightforward, so if you're playing Brotherhood of Mutants, which really if you're playing Magneto you're more than likely going to be, you get to recycle that card, and that last part is one of the reasons why this card I believe is really, really good. I want to talk a little bit, however, about the cover that it provides itself, because I've seen a few people get confused about this one. So cover, how does it work? Well, cover in this game allows you, during the dice modification step, to be able to change one of your dice to a block. Now, there are a few prerequisites to this. First of all, you need to have a dice that is available to be able to benefit from cover. So if you're rolling 3 defense dice and you roll 3 blocks, then you're not going to get any additional benefit from cover. You don't get a 4th block because of the cover, because you don't have a dice left. Equally, if you roll 2 blocks and a failure, unless you can manipulate skulls or manipulate failures, you're not going to be able to change that die into a block either. Secondly, the rule of 2 does not apply for cover being given by magnetic refraction. What do I mean by the rule of 2? Well, when you gain cover from terrain, if the character that is attacking is within range 2 of the target character, they negate that cover basically. This isn't cover that's been given from terrain, so the rule of 2 does not apply. So it's a little bit like what Rocket Raccoon has got on his card, where he always benefits from cover. This is exactly the same. Lastly, on the cover piece, if you're coming up against a character that does not allow you to modify dice in any way, shape or form, because again, cover is part of the dice modification step. So let's say you're coming up against a Venom, he is going to completely negate this card because you can't modify your dice, therefore you cannot benefit from cover. And lastly then, the card I want to talk about is a card that is from the core box, but is seeing a lot of play at the moment, and that is the card Sacrifice. And I've seen this card being played wrong quite a few times now. I've had a couple of opponents who I've come up against where I've had to explain to them how the card exactly works, because it can be a little bit misleading. So let's run through the card, read through it, and then we'll break it down. So Sacrifice is an unaffiliated reactive card, and the wording is as such. If an allied character is within range 2 of another allied character and is targeted by an enemy attack, those allied characters may spend 1 power each to play this card. The non-targeted allied character immediately becomes the new target of the attack, regardless of the range and line of sight. It cannot add additional defense dice to its defense roll and cannot modify its dice during this attack. So this is a bodyguard, right? It's another version of what we've seen on lots of other characters. However, it's those last couple of lines there that make this very, very different to other bodyguards that we see in the game. The second part, which we'll take first, is cannot modify its dice during this attack. Well, that basically just means that you don't get access to any rerolls or any other form of dice modification. As an example, as we've just gone through with Magneto's card, that could be cover. Now, the bit that seems to catch a lot of people out is the line, it cannot add additional defense dice to its defense roll. So what exactly does that mean? Well, first and foremost, it means that you're not going to be able to explode any crits that are included as part of your roll. So once you've made your initial roll, if you do roll any crits, you're not going to be able to explode them and add those additional dice in. But it goes even further than that. Let's take Dr. Voodoo as an example, and let's say that Dr. Voodoo has sacrificed himself and he's going to take a hit for one of his allied characters. Now, Dr. Voodoo's base defensive stats are 2 physical, 2 energy, and 4 mystic. But he does have the spirit of Brother Daniel. And it says this character begins the game with the Brother Daniel token. While this character has the token, add 2 dice to all of its defense and dodge rolls. And that's really key because the wording there is add 2 dice. So this rule is then extended out to any other characters who get to boost their own defense dice. So characters such as Captain Marvel with her binary form, Vision with his phasing ability, or Steve Rogers with his vibranium shield. As always in Marvel Crisis Protocol, however, there are a couple of exceptions to this rule. Characters such as Cable or Doctor Strange, who can boost another character's defense dice, can still spend that power and actually boost their defense dice. So if you did take this on a Dr. Voodoo, for example, and there was a Cable nearby, you would be able to gain 2 additional dice from Cable or indeed Doctor Strange. I want to just run through a couple of other examples as well, because there are a couple of scenarios where it may seem like a character is adding dice to their defense roll, but they're actually not doing that. First of all, I'll just want to cover off Magneto with his force projection. Now, Magneto can pay 2 power and he gets to use his mystic defense rather than his energy or his physical defense. And that's completely different to adding dice. He's just getting to use a different defensive stat. There's also then a number of characters where they have a superpower that causes the opponent to pay power for them to be able to not use their mystic defense. So you have Enchantress with Enchanting, you've got Ebony Maw with Mind Over Matter, and you have Mysterio with Smoke and Mirrors. And they all word it something along the lines of, when an enemy character targets this character with an attack, this character may use its mystic defense regardless of the attack's type, unless the attacking character pays 2 power. So let's say that Ebony Maw did use a sacrifice. So the attacking character would target the initial target. Ebony Maw and then the initial target character would pay 1 power each, and then Ebony Maw would be able to use his 6 mystic defense rather than his 2 or 4 energy defense. Now, unfortunately for the attacking character, that doesn't count as adding dice to their own pool. So whilst he's not going to be able to explode any crits, he's still going to get that 6 dice. And there is 0 window of opportunity for the character to be able to mitigate that in any way, shape or form. So just be wary of that. If you are attacking a character your opponent does have sacrifice, and there is a Enchantress, Mysterio, Ebony Maw, there may be a couple of others that I can't think of, but they are nearby, just be worried that they can take the hit and you're not going to be able to spend that power to mitigate their defenses. So just be aware that when you are playing Sacrifice, you understand all the rules around there. Captain Marvel's binary form, for example, as I mentioned, the extra dice from Dr. Voodoo. Some of these characters that seem really tanky and really good to use Sacrifice on may not necessarily be the best characters to use it for. And there we go, guys. There are 5 tactics cards that some players may be getting wrong. Let me know down in the comment section below if that was helpful at all. If you've liked the video, like it. It really, really does help. And if you do want to support the channel even further, we do have our Patreon now up and running as well. We've also got a Discord server. It's completely free of charge to join. There's almost 400 people on there now talking all sorts of things around Marvel Crisis Protocol. And also let me know down in the comment section below if any tactics cards caught you out when you first started playing the game. Guys, as always, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.